Welcome to Zero Gravity's podcast. I'm here with Jordan, the co-founding CMO at Public AI. Jordan, before we get too deep into Public AI, give us a brief background into yourself and how did you find yourself founding Public AI?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Super excited to chat today, and really excited for what Zero G is up to as well. I came into this space of kind of like crypto and AI or Web3 and AI overlapping, actually through my creative technology nonprofit Codeme that I've been running for 14 years. We would do a big yearly festival supporting the artists, and then COVID hit, and our curator that year was like, "Hey, check out NFTs." That got me sucked into the Web3 space and had the opportunity to build out a bunch of DAO and NFT infrastructure. And one of the things that's driven me professionally and personally over the years is just building platforms that elevate people and creating earning opportunities for people. And I think that that's something that is the Web3 does uniquely very well and is becoming ever more important at a global scale as the nature of work is changing yet again with the adoption of AI across several industries. So that's kind of what got me interested in this space and brought me to the current endeavor.
Absolutely. Well, for people that are unfamiliar, could you describe a bit about what Public AI is and what's the mission there?
Yeah, so essentially, we are making it equitable for experts to improve AI. What we have is a platform that allows people to gather and then verify the quality of each other's data. And the way it works for our clients, which are people that buy data and are looking for data that's not widely available on the internet, basically niche data that's pertinent to their businesses, is they come to us and kind of describe their business problems. We help them figure out what kind of data is going to make an impact in applying AI to their business. And then we go to our community, and that's a community of over 500,000 data workers. And we say, hey, this week we need people to take pictures of dogs, or this week we need people to evaluate this model, or whatever it is, depending on the client's needs. And then the Web3 aspect of it is that we have a pipeline from the data gathering to the consensus verification of the quality to the application of that data to the models that are there for the business use cases. And through that whole pipeline, we're using Web3 staking, slashing to ensure the quality and the commitment of the workers as they're going through all of that work. Because quality is the thing that matters the most when you're talking about data for AI. Yep, that's it.
What would you say is the core challenge or problem you guys are trying to address in the space? Is it that people are they're able to monetize their data because you might send out a task saying like, hey, we need pictures of dogs, and then if people actually do take pictures of dogs, they're getting compensated for that? Or how would you describe the main challenge?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're talking about our clients, the people that are paying us for this data, their biggest challenge is that the data that's available on the internet is largely generic, and large language models aren't great at solving specific business problems. So as more businesses are applying AI to their programming and everything else they're doing, they're finding that they don't have the data they need. And we're able to go deep on niches across a large variety of demographics. And that's the problem that we're solving for them, is getting this data that's otherwise like unobtainable. There's some other problems that make that complicated as far as like the legality of data and equitable compensation of data. This is something that the whole AI industry is struggling with right now, and we believe that we have a really solid answer to those kinds of like open-ended questions that people are talking about right now. And then on the go ahead if you have a question.
No. Keep going.
Okay. Then on the supply side, or like the folks that are actually doing this data work, we want to make sure that it's meaningful for them, that there's a way to contribute to AI that's not scary and weird, but that allows their passions and niche interests to show up in AI in a meaningful way. So, of course, that does involve compensating them for their contributions, but also to be sure that like AI actually represents their cultures. Um, we recently wrapped up a campaign where the client was working on an AI avatar influencer for Southeast Asia, and they were looking to source a bunch of photos for other influencers and people basically with brown skin from that area. So we're helping the diversity and the deepness of the data and ensuring that it's quality by going to those experts and people that actually know and care about the things that our clients care about.
And then let's talk about some of the features of your guys' platform because I was going through the website earlier, and for listeners, they may be wholly unfamiliar. So I've seen a few aspects. There's like Data Hunter, Data Hub. There's an Arena. Talk to us about some of the features and these like larger products you guys have within the umbrella.
Yep. You nailed those touch points. The kind of the widest funnel and the easiest way to contribute to public AI is through that Data Hunter Chrome extension. And when you install the Chrome extension, it allows you to submit data for the different campaigns that we have going on. And then from that point, we have the data hub that you mentioned, and that's where kind of the consensus is coming into play, where people are able to rate each other's data and ensure the quality of it before it gets applied to models. And then we're doing the testing of the application of this data to the models, both in that data hub, which is a website that you can visit, and then also through our Telegram bot, which is just one more touch point, making it easy for people to casually interact with the data and their contributions and seeing how they make an impact.
So just to summarize, so it seems like Data Hunter is for the people that are actually contributing the underlying data, like let's say the dog photos as an example, that the Data
Yep.
Hub is where people are rating them. And then say what the Arena was one more time.
The arena is that place where after the data's been applied and the models are being tested, the arena is where they kind of like stack up against each other, where we're able to test different versions of the model against each other and be sure that all of the data collection and application actually had a positive impact on the client's models.
And then this, testing of the models. Would you say that's the most difficult area you guys face, or is it more the Data Hub or the Data Hunter? Like, what has been one of the more challenging aspects to implement?
From our perspective, I think the biggest thing that we're chewing on and improving and actually have a patent out for is the quality aspect of the data. So generally, if you ask people to go gather data, you'll get a ton of it. And generally, if you just want people to test a model, that's also fairly straightforward. You just have them do queries and then they rate how the queries went. But in the middle, to get the quality data isolated and to get some signal out of the noise of all the different submissions of varying quality, that's the hardest part. So that's why we came up with a system like this Web3 pipeline that I was describing, where people actually have to stake and put some committed intent into their participation, so that we don't get people that are just like randomly joining to click on a bunch of different buttons and hope that they get an airdrop or something like that. We're actually filtering out the people who actually care and understand what quality is and how it fits into the whole bigger picture. And that's the multi-step process.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about that process specifically. So let's say I'm a user of public AI from, I guess I'll say more like the retail front. I stake a certain amount of like a token, and then based on my contributions as they're rated probably in, it seems like the data hub, then I will either be slashed or rewarded based on my contribution. Is that about right?
Yep, that's exactly it. You nailed it.
Perfect, perfect. And then I remember reading you guys have a reinforcement learning from human feedback model. Like, could you talk to us a little bit about how your model training works?
Yeah, the loop there is that arena where after we apply the data, we have a few different versions of the model, and then we send that back to the folks who have been involved in the process of gathering and rating the quality of the data so that they can then rate the application of it.
Got it.
And depending on how you define the human feedback in the loop, the data quality part is also important to us, and I think that that's the stickiest part industry wide. Everybody's kind of struggling with like quality data that is pertinent to specific business use cases.
Yeah, actually, to reinforce maybe some of the business use cases, could you talk to us? And if you have to be broad, that's totally fine as well. Could you talk to us about some of the like use cases? Because I think when most people think about AI in their head, they must be like, oh yeah, like there's all this data out there. There's Twitter. There's this. There's that. There's Reddit. Like I think Reddit had a $60 million deal with Google. Like surely there must be an abundance of data. Talk to us a little bit about like this hard to get data.
Yeah, so if you are kind of throwing caution into the wind and are willing to write your own scrapers and know what you're looking for, then there is a lot of data on the internet. But by and large, that's the same data that's already been ingested by the large language models that most people think about when they hear AI today. Um, Classically, AI has been applied to business more in what is now being referred to as like small language models, where there's a specific problem to solve, and the AI is there to like do some kind of fuzzy decision making around those problems. So a classic example of that is something like product recommendation, or something related to like fashion or other things like that. And as AI is becoming more popular, what we're seeing is a lot of clients who have done some experiments with large language models and seen some rate of success with that and kind of have an understanding of how AI could fit into their business. But it's just an experiment with maybe like 50% to 60% success rate when they're trying to use a large language model to solve the problem. And that's what we're here for, is to help them take that, maybe focus it into a small language model, so that they can really like laser focused apply it to their business problem, and then find the right data to train that model to be like 99.9% effective rather than the 60% that they had an inspiring experiment around. Get it up to that production level deployment.
Talk to us a little bit about like some of the primary audience. Like, is there a specific vertical you guys find is very AI forward and looking for kind of this more tailored AI approach, or is it kind of the usual suspects we would expect, like the major tech companies?
Mm. Um, I would say that there's not really a vertical, but demographic wise, when we're looking at our clients and the kind of businesses that we're talking with, there's kind of two big groups. The group that we've kind of been discussing the most is probably like small and medium sized businesses that don't have the firepower or the ability to go and make deals with the big data providers or with Reddit or with Google. They are having to figure out these things on their own, and they have access to large language models, but they don't have a sophisticated understanding of how to plug those things into their business or how to improve them for their businesses. So that's like kind of our bread and butter right now, is these small and medium sized businesses. And then we also have an aspect of our clientele who are the large data providers like the Scale AI, Abaca, etc. And it's kind of a co-opetition situation where, yes, they're selling data and yes, we're selling data, but we have access to deeper niches of data, and we're able to do margin splitting with those companies to help them be successful. So that's like another kind of demographic, and revenue wise, that's where most of our revenue is coming from as we're growing the clientele of small and medium businesses.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. To me, it's actually quite surprising. Like a small business would be having the resources to invest in AI, like a model enrichment, or even building models in general. It's quite interesting. Talk to us a little bit about some of the partnerships you guys have struck and how that's kind of pushing forward the business. I thought I saw that you guys had something with Stanford. I might be mistaken on that, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we're part of the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator. And that has been a wonderful partnership, just getting to know the other teams in this current like tranche of startups that are going through it. The cohort is full of like other amazing founders, so that kind of like networking is always inspiring. And then the network of the Stanford Blockchain Accelerator is also great. Just the as we're doing our raise, it's been instrumental to have their feedback on our materials, and also getting us in front of the right investors, because you have to be strategic about your investors as well. It can't just be random money coming in. It has to be real partnerships so that it has a meaningful impact on the overall business and its trajectory.
Yeah, it's a kind of a funny thing when I was first starting in business. You think like, kind of all money's created equal, and you very quickly realize that is not even close to true.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about, because many AI companies haven't really embraced Web3. Talk to us a little bit about some of the decision to actually kind of combine some blockchain aspects. You mentioned earlier, obviously there's the staking mechanisms for the underlying, I'll call them the like model enrichers or the model data providers. Talk to us a little bit about like your decision to actually implement Web3 Rails.
Yeah, for us, it was the fastest, clearest route to the diversity and depth and accessibility that we wanted for our data workers. There's certainly ways of getting payment rails set up internationally outside of Web3, but it tends to be messier, and we wanted something that was like permissionless. The goal is, once we have all of this down to a protocol and perfectly deployed, then we'll be able to walk away from it, and the protocol will allow people to permissionlessly come and ask for data and also contribute data. So that's the grandest vision, and also a big reason for going with Web3. In the meantime, what we've found is that there's a lot of service work to be done. And that's probably where we'll be doing a lot of the work in the future too, as we get the protocol tighter and tighter, is understanding the data needs better, and then also making it easier for everyday people to come and contribute, because there are still large swaths of people that aren't into Web3, and we want to be as flexible as possible for paying those people. So, looking at partnerships with some different folks like Opolis and payment processors and things that make it easy for more fiat focused people to also see the benefits of contributing to a Web3 ecosystem.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see how everyone is ending up using blockchain for these problems. Talk to us a little bit about the building and scaling. Obviously, you guys were in, I guess we'll call it like Stanford's like Accelerator or their mentorship there.
Mhm.
Talk to us a little bit about like growing the company. How long have you guys been in business, and what are you kind of hoping to accomplish?
So we've been in business for about a year. And a lot of it came from some successful data sales by my co-founder and his professors. Stephen Wong is a doctor of computer science, and through that work was also very focused on AI and had experience in selling data sets to Adobe and Luma and some other large companies. And that's what inspired us to take those kind of one-off data licensing sales and build a company around it. So we started on a strong foot of having relationships and people who were interested in buying data, and just needed to put a more robust business around it, and then also deal with the very real problem of the data quality, which again, this is something that the whole industry is struggling with. So that's where we've mostly been focused, is on building the supply side, getting those 500,000 data workers built up, and that's been through from a Web3 perspective a pretty standard partnership ringer, where we find the right projects with the right demographics that kind of line up with the kinds of things that our clients are asking for, so that it's meaningful for those communities to come in and contribute to the data sets. And we've been doing about, we aim for about one a week, but it winds up being more like two a month, because we do focus on the quality of it. And uh, that's been going well. The numbers keep on going up. We're expecting in the next year probably to hit something closer to like 3 million data workers if our trajectory remains like on target. And then on the business side, it's a combination of those two demographics that I mentioned earlier, with the larger data clients where we're doing more of the margin sharing, and the small medium businesses, and helping them understand better how AI applies to their business. And you mentioned like that it's surprising to see small businesses applying AI to what they do. But when you look at small fashion brands, content creators, things like that, they're generally small teams that need to amplify what they're doing. And when they try AI and see that they can do more with less, they're pretty excited about finding ways of making that work. And those clients, it's fun to see the kind of the unique, weird little niches that we get into. Like right now, we're doing a dog photo collection campaign, and they're basically doing WorldCoin for dogs and building a whole brand around that. And then in the near future, we'll be launching a campaign for like designer bags, being able to identify like counterfeit versus authentic bags for e-commerce and things like that. So there's a lot of really interesting little niches that we're learning more about, and then also kind of learning more about the different modalities of data that these clients are interested in gathering to improve their businesses.
Well, I might actually know the. I might have interviewed the founder of the bag project. I'm curious if it's
Oh
the
yeah,
same. I'll have to look it up at the end of here. But
cool.
so, talk to us a little bit about you. You mentioned some of the like niche use cases. What are some of like the biggest case studies you guys have gotten in terms of providing? I don't even call it. We'll call them niche data sets.
hmm Yeah, so we've delivered about like 20 different data sets, and are seeing everything from like medical data to like kind of the more traditional AI data sets you'd imagine, like being able to do segmentation and images, and things like that. And then most of the more contemporary kind of like newcomers to the AI space, they tend to ask for like image modalities. It seems like it's very, maybe because we're visual people, humans are visual creatures, like it's just the first thing that clicks and they understand how it works and can apply it to their business. But that's where we're seeing most of our requests, is like having people either gather images or rating them, or um, adding that kind of like intelligence into their business pipelines.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Now, have you guys seen any interest from, let's say, like the AI agent space, or that's not necessarily is that so? That's been something you guys have seen interest in. Yeah, it's quite curious on how people will continue to train these agents. Anything in the public zeitgeist, like agents that you guys have been working on specifically?
There are a few agent partners. I don't think that I can talk about any of
Sure.
them right now, but we do have like a little handful, like maybe like three agent partners that we're working with.
Yeah. It was funny. I was interviewing I think it was the head of marketing for Circle, and we were talking about, will you eventually have to market your stablecoin to agents and be like, hey, we're much better than this other stablecoin? It's quite funny to think about as from a marketing perspective. In terms of, because you're a CMO, talk to us a little bit about, is it challenging marketing this product, or mostly when you talk to data providers, they completely get it right from the beginning?
Yeah, our inbound on the folks that are looking to buy the data, our clients, is pretty strong, and more so, we're really focused on getting that um, those experts involved from across all of the different like niches and demographics. With the Web3 and crypto approach, we do have a ton of data workers, but it's also kind of a Web3 demographic. So a lot of what we've been looking at for programming through the end of the year and in the new year is around reaching more of the Web2 audiences and influencers and niches there, and helping them understand how their contributions can make a difference and how we can make it meaningful for them.
Absolutely. Well, some exciting things on the horizon. Talk to us about any kind of milestones and developments that people can look forward to from you.
Yeah. With our platform, one of the big things on the roadmap is with the data hunter. Right now, it's a fairly like proactive thing. When you use the data hunter Chrome extension, you have to click on it to submit data. So it really requires somebody's attention. We're excited to be shipping very soon, like a more passive way of people gathering data. And one of the best things that's actually good for is helping us establish expertise among all of the data hunters out there, so that when we do get a specific request in for, say, handbags, we know exactly who already looks at handbags and can ping those users and be like, hey, we need you to go take 10 photos of your favorite and your most disappointing handbag purchase, things like that.
Yeah, that's quite exciting. So, finally, talk to us about where they can find you all online, where they can interact with you personally.
Yep. Check out Public AI on almost all the channels. We're Public AI underscore because it's a popular term. So we're working on taking care of all the campers. But yeah, just look up Public AI. We're very active on Twitter, Telegram, Discord, Medium. That's where we are mostly getting stuff out. LinkedIn, and then if you're interested in keeping up with me, the alias is Starpause, Starpause. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure coming on and talking about everything that's going on.
Absolutely. Well, everyone go get involved with Public AI, go get involved with Jordan, and let's continue building the future of on chain AI.